Okay, hello all. It's your friend Annie here, and I'm with my sweet friend Mandy from Texas. As,
Hello.
and as always, we are here to support all the caffeine quitters out there and other people who are suffering from addiction or who are in their addiction recovery journey. So warmly welcome all. And in this video, we just want to give you a lot of like this supportive, positive support. And this is about the life lessons that we have been learning in our own recovery journey. So do you want to start, Mandy, sharing? You did have something really good stuff in your mind.
Yeah. Hello. I have a few things, but one thing that just popped up, I wanted to say that like it's so important whenever any symptom shows up, like if it's sinus stuff or uh, anything, any symptom that just doesn't seem normal, it is most likely, not even most likely, it is part of the journey. That's anything that's not normal in the body, which sounds kind of weird because people would think like, well, maybe I'm sick or maybe and even that, I mean, that's what we talk about a lot when we're sick or we have, some type of disease or some type of illness. It really is the body healing anyway. So
Yes.
that's a
Yes.
whole perspective that we like, the whole German new medicine. And I'm not like super into that German new medicine, but I do like that perspective. The only thing that trips me up on that is like when somebody gets cancer, how is that? But anyway, that's not even what I really wanted to talk about. But so something like sinuses or allergy type stuff, I really believe that is part of the anxiety because
Yep.
a lot of the time, like in my journey, especially before when I was on everything, that I had a lot of intestinal issues. And that, a lot of people talk about that in different recovery groups, benzo groups and things that like get your digestion right, get your digestion right, and then everything will work out. And it's like, no, get the anxiety right, get the traumas out, which is, I think when we get the anxiety right, the trauma naturally releases. But it's the anxiety that's causing the digestive issues to begin, that's how I think of it. And because I've had intestinal issues for so long, and now my anxiety is subsiding and subsiding more and more and more and getting better and better. And my digestion is working better than ever. Now, sometimes I still might have some healing,
Yeah.
symptoms with that, but throughout the journey. But it's the progression is where it's working better than ever. And
Yeah.
so I just see it as it really truly has always been anxiety, not just an intestinal issue that was causing the anxiety. So the stress, we talk about that a lot. The stress causes the digestive issues, not being able to get pregnant, all these little things that those systems and the body kind of shut down for all the other more important vital organs and systems, for true survival. So even things like allergies. So like even in the trauma way, when people look at it as the trauma stuff and the nervous system stuff, which it really is to me all anxiety, it just makes sense that like, or when cortisol is really high, because it's all about like high cortisol when we're stressed. Caffeine causes high cortisol and adrenaline.
Yes.
Things, puffy face when you have high cortisol, hair falling out,
Yeah.
bruises, digestive issues, autoimmune issues. So everybody's like, I have an autoimmune issue. And it's like, yeah, that's just your body's way of reacting to this high stress, this high cortisol, this nervous system's out of whack, and all these things all these like terms that we say when it really just is the body's reaction to the way that it's dealing with something like caffeine, which causes a stress, or just dealing with stress in general. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so I just want to give that reassurance that any symptom that comes up that you might think that you're just sick, something interesting like my hip pain, like I had hip pain for forever. Finally, like 6 months it's been happening. And I'm like, okay, is something going on? Nope, it's part of the like, and I knew in the back of my mind, okay, this could just be something that's coming up, but this could be my body healing and like I'm stronger than ever. And it's just like it makes sense to me now that it's finally going away. It's like, oh my gosh, it was part of this process.
Yeah.
And other things like I mean, might be TMI, but I had kind of like some acne on my on my rear. And you know how we do, we tell things,
Yeah.
and for like a year, it was just so bad. And it's finally cleared up. And this is something that I was told that like, you'll be the last to know on certain symptoms. You realize like, oh yeah, that symptom cleared up or that symptom's gone. Like other people will see it before you will. And it's true because I don't know how long it's been cleared up, but I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, that's cleared up. It was even going like down to my hips. Like I was getting like kind of like some really bad bumps on my hips. It's all detoxing and healing out. And it all happens in different times of the process, even if it's years later.
Yeah.
And it can come and go. So it's so but I still get like little ones coming out on my back or my chest here and there.
Yeah.
And could I think it's my dairy I'm eating, my cottage cheese in the back of my mind? Because it causes the doubt. The anxiety causes the doubt. Is it the dairy or is it part of this process, just like it was on my rear? And like we do that. So it's like, okay, are these sinus issues causing me problems, or is it something else? Am I sick? And you do like all these certain symptoms we question because of the doubt, because of the anxiety.
Yes.
Very, 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 very normal. And I wanted to start with that.
Yeah, so good. And I agree with everything. And I just also want to say that as long as you have anxiety, you have the doubt. And
Yes.
this healing happened, and it is going also, whoever is listening to this in your journey, it's going just like it should go. Like the symptoms will come and symptoms will go. And it's actually a very natural process. And when you start to be like in the end of the process, you start to just see how much more healthier you become. You just start to function more naturally. You don't have these worries that you used to have. You don't even remember those worries because you are just
Yeah.
so much focused in your own life. The peoples are not irritating you. Like a beginning of this, I only thing that I always wanted to talk about was caffeine withdrawal. I didn't talk about anything else because of caffeine withdrawal, because that was my focus all the time. Of course, I did speak about that also because I have been helping people, but now I can speak about anything else. Like that's starting to fade away. Even I'm here to support you, but that's the anxiety is always there to irritate us in something,
Yeah.
put us to something else and not be here in the present.
Exactly. Yes. And then even if we have 1 or 2% compared to in the beginning, that 10% or on a scale of 1 to 10, we have 1 or 2 on the scale and not 10 where it was in the beginning, it's still there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and you're
it
gonna
can be.
notice it. You're gonna notice when the anxiety is there, that even the intrusive thoughts can, like we speak about that one video, they can play out in the different form. It can just be that suddenly some kind of scary thought pop in your head, that what if your loved one's gonna die, or that kind of. Those can be the forms of intrusive thoughts that are not necessarily so scary, or they are not all the time, but sometimes they can pop up. Or maybe you're judging, you look at people, you are like, why this is look like that person have a big head, or whatever funny thoughts. They can be just like the intrusive thoughts. They are not dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. I think your audio went out.
Yeah, I do. It sometimes does.
There we go. I don't have my thing to put it.
Yeah, don't worry. I can see there it comes a note. But just know that just try to not judge yourself about because your mind is racing, because that is the part of the brain rewiring and nervous system rewiring.
Yes.
Easier said than done, I know, but it's not dangerous.
It's so true. It's not. And it's okay. So those symptoms start to fade maybe, and then we start to get more physical symptoms. And then we're like, why am I having that? And why is my nose running? And why am I having acne? And like, but when you look at it, it's way better than the extreme, crazy, intrusive thoughts. It's better than the deep, deep anhedonic depression.
For sure.
But at the same time, that anxiety is still a little bit there. So it's just going to cause that frustration when we get those physical symptoms.
Yes.
So it does slowly get better and the symptoms come back. They're not coming back, right? Because I think we said that. I think I said that yesterday because I rewatched the videos and I was like, oh yeah, when they came back. And I said that because that's what we think, or that's how it seems they're coming back. So I just use that vocabulary. But what is truly, and we say this in all of our videos, it's just part of the healing. That is those symptoms coming back. The symptoms are the healing.
Yeah, because
So
the
they're there.
anxiety actually never left yet when we are still healing.
Right.
It's just like you have the good example. You can tell it like anxiety goes in the gym. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the symptoms are there for a reason. It's healing stuff. But yeah, so when we're feeling better and we're more functional, and we stay clean and we know our brain is just like, okay, I guess, and the anxiety's like getting kind of scared, it's like she's staying clean and we're like, we're winning and the anxiety's losing, even though at the beginning it was kicking our butt, like it was really beating us up. But we stay sober, we keep fighting, we're strong. And it starts to say, well, damn, they're winning, they're beating this.
Yes.
Because it wants to run the show. It's all about survival. It really thinks that it needs to do it to keep us safe. So it's trying really hard, but we're beating it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's there. I mean, it really is there as survival. So to try, we were talking about that yesterday, to try not to look at it as something scary. Like it really is there to try to save us, but to keep us safe. But so yeah, so we keep going. We're at 2-3 years, wherever we're at, we're doing better. We're like, yeah, I'm doing better. And that's why Kate always says to humble ourselves, because until we're out of it and it comes back, then we're like, well, damn. And then we get even more upset when it comes back.
Yeah.
So we're just like super excited when we're doing good, which we should be. We should celebrate it, but celebrate it in a humble way, I guess, is the best way I describe it. And the more and more you keep going back and forth in the ups and downs and the windows and waves, you do start to learn more to humble yourself, because you almost get like not embarrassed, but it's almost just like, well, dang, this keeps happening this way, which is part of the process. Well, anyway, so you're doing good, you're in a window, you're functional. The anxiety, it's like it goes to the gym and works out because it's scared, it wants to, it's trying to get stronger again. So then when it comes back, it really just like is in your face trying to beat you. And it wants you to surrender. It wants you to surrender to it, even though we're surrendering. We do start to surrender to it, but it wants you to I think it wants you to go back to consuming drugs, but that's
Yes.
but you
But
stay sober.
yeah.
And it beats you up a little bit again. It comes back, and it feels worse than ever, and then, but it doesn't. It's not getting worse. It's that you're getting stronger.
Yeah.
And it's just working out to try to come back and win it, and for it to win. So then you go through that process and you say, nope. And you just fight through it for those weeks or months or however long it takes. And then you go into a window again and it's like you're upgraded. And so, yeah, that's just a really neat kind of way to look at it. Cause that is, in the last 4 years, I was told that analogy, and then that is how it's played out. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
We do win at the end,
Yeah.
but it tries so hard to kick our ass.
Yeah.
So, and I like the other analogy about if you're getting hit in the arm, like in the beginning, it's kicking, you're on the ground in fetal position and it's kicking you, and you're just there like, okay, I give up. But then you stay sober, you get a break, you get a window, and then it comes back and it just hits you in the arm. So like if it's hitting you all the time, then you're numb to it.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, okay, it's hitting me all the time. I've got like 50 symptoms. I was like, you're just kind of, but then once you start doing better, all the symptoms subside, and then it comes back and it just hits you in the arm. You're not numb anymore. And it's like, ow, that really hurts. So it's kind of like that. Like it comes back and then it feels even worse because again, you're getting better. So that's another analogy, another way to look at it. It's all the fact that we're getting stronger.
Yeah.
And it's scared that it's losing because it's about survival and all that. But yeah, so that's a cool one. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, and I also want to say one positive point of view that I have learned, and I hope that this helps you. Like if you are scared of or confused about the symptoms, but when I look all the symptoms, I never look, it's like, I always look now it's healing, because I have this like belief that I really believe that human body is always healing itself, always, like all the symptoms that we have, it's healing. So if you can somehow like start to look in that point of view, that when you do suffering, you're actually healing. And I know in that moment that you have really difficult time and you have to lot of things to do and you cannot like contact with your loved ones. It's not necessarily help like, oh, I'm healing, but everyone else is living their life. But I promise you that when you will come back your life, whenever it is, like 2 years, 3 years, whatever your brain needs. We don't say the timeline, because whatever your brain needs, you're gonna go back to living. And one day you don't need any of this information. You don't think about neurotransmitters or brain rewiring, nervous system. We didn't know any of this stuff when we were in addiction. We never thought about, oh, my neurotransmitters and my dopamine and GABA. You don't need that.
Exactly. I love
you do
it.
what you want. Like you go in that direction. You speak about things that you are interested. You go out with your friends. You have a good time.
Yeah. You're living. Yeah. Anxiety is not part of your vocabulary anymore. It's just not, because we're functioning properly. We talked about that yesterday. Yeah, that's so good.
And
It really
that
is.
living for after this kind of journey, it feels really good. Like you're gonna go cry to some place with happiness. You're gonna just cry. Like I go some places and I just cry from happiness, because I have something that I cannot describe to other people, that I now know how I appreciate that I didn't know before.
Yeah. So true. It's seriously, like I was saying yesterday, I just pinch myself, and I'll cry happy tears about it, because it's just like, this is what we've been fighting for. This is what we've been staying sober for and free from, not going back. And again, like kind of when you do fall off the mountain, you really kind of can't go back anyway. You don't, your body just says no more, and you just kind of get it. It's almost like a gift from God. It is a gift, it's a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
At the same time. Because I thought like, oh my God, I'm going through a spiritual awakening. I thought that in the beginning. And it's like, well, it might not just be a spiritual awakening, but in the process, you do find your center and your understanding of like, okay, is it the universe? Is it God? Whatever people want to, whatever they believe, but you really do get connected to that spiritual side. For me, it's God. For me, it's just a greater love that I just feel it. I'm very connected to nature, and to like all of our souls are connected, like just beautiful, beautiful way of thinking. But yeah, at the beginning, I thought I thought it was just a spiritual awakening, but it's just, and it is, it's the opportunity for this physical life to just work so good while we're here. And it's just so neat that God designed us to really live with peace and harmony and joy and all these things. Yes, life still happens, but then we have the tools to deal with the life happening. We don't just shut down. And that's why people go to drugs, because it's like too hard. Life can be too hard. But if you're already been on caffeine and your stress is high because of the caffeine, and it's causing that adrenaline and cortisol to be high, then when stressors happen, you can't deal, as well as you could if you weren't on them. So yeah, life isn't perfect. It's not supposed to be. And we never say that, because I know a lot of times people, the naysayers, are like, oh, well, you're acting like this is just, no, it's just, you're able to cope more. You have the skills, but life is easy. I was told this, life is easy. People make life hard. Life is easy. Life is easy.
It's easy. Yeah. And it's supposed to be like, we have everything that we need. Those tools that God gave us, it's inside of us. They are not something to buy or something to go some kind of self-help courses. You can do those. You can go to meditate and you can do, but God did sign us to perfect, functioning perfect.
Totally.
Like, There is nothing that we really need except like the good loved ones and food and water and something that we can do in this life. But we have been brainwashed also that we're gonna need, or that we have to buy, and we have to get this stuff, and that makes us happy, or we have to travel to make us happy. But actually, we can just be happy right now. Don't need.
So
we can
true.
do. That's fun stuff to do, of course. But you
don't have to do it.
Yeah, you don't have to
need it to be happy. You can already be happy. It's like an extra bump up, or it's a supplemental. It's not. It's just an addition. It doesn't make the happiness. People strive for that alcohol and the vacations to make that happiness. Yeah, that's good. And
and one thing I also wanted to share, and we did talk about with you this, Mandy, this brain, that we have this lizard brain, and then we have mammal brain, the emotional brain, the limbic system, like the cave brain, the limbic system, and then the neurocortex, which is the thinking brain, the high IQ center brain that we're gonna want to use when we are like functioning normally. That's when we can do a lot of logical thinking, and we can design, we can plan things, and that's when that is sort of when we are addicted and chronic caffeineism state. And many of us, that part was also have been shutting down in this recovery process. So what we want to share that, and this is just to support you, that the limbic brain, which is all about like breathing and keeping our heart pumping, that will always, like, that will keep the body functioning, even if this part logic brain doesn't work. And then if you are somebody of you are still in that state that you have panic attacks and a bad memory and dissociation, DBDR, you cannot read, you cannot contact, still that reptile brain is now keeping you alive. Your heart is gonna pump, your breathing is gonna go, even you have this people always, Anni, I have this, I cannot breathe, and then you measure your oxygen, and it's good. You do that.
I did that.
Measure, like I didn't.
I did that 1,000 times a day.
So I just want to say you that the human body is so amazingly designed that part of the brain is taking care of you until this part of the brain will be more
until
connection.
So. Yes, and it will when we quit, we get all the brain is in shock in a way. It's changing. It's like, oh, we talk about it all the time, the allostasis, and we need it to survive. What are you doing? And then it goes into like a shutdown, this part. And
especially
then everything
if you
starts
cold turkey and you have not some people who taper slowly. It can be that you can be totally functional all the process, and that's, of course, it's good. That's very good.
Yeah.
But now if you need some reason end up having this shock, falling off the mountain stuff, then you're still gonna survive.
It can be this it can be this part of the process. And I love we're talking about this because in the beginning, when the shock happened and the rewiring, I love looking at it like it's just an engine going this way, and then it goes, and then it just takes a long time to, start going the right way again. But that's just what it felt like. And I felt like I was going to pass out or just faint, or even worse, perish. Like it just really felt. And another thing too about the adenosine and all that, there's so many things happening, biochemically, and that we just don't even understand. But logically, we just know that we're not working properly, and we were working properly and when we were on the substances because of the allostasis. It's so cool to have that information, because you see addicts when they're functional. It's like, how are they functioning even better than me? Because they're in that allostatic state. It's just the fact that we quit, but you have to go through the quit and go through maybe possibly years to be in that functional homeostatic state, which is so optimal for our body.
Yeah.
But I love that you're saying that, because what is it? The monkey brain? I want to say the lizard brain, that will keep us alive. So it's like, if you're thinking like, oh my God, I'm just going to pass out or I'm going to faint, or I'm going to pair, no, it's going to keep our heartbeat alive. Cause I was just like constantly like, something's going to happen to me. And I was just, because it causes that fear, it causes that worry, that doubt. But just to know that part of the brain, that we are designed like that, because we are designed to go through fight or flight if we have a stressor, and that quitting the drug, being on the drug is a stressor, and then quitting the drug is even a bigger stressor, even though it's part of the healing. But it
Yeah,
just
and your
takes a long
nervous
time.
system can go like while you're tired, it can go there to functional. You can be in a functional free state where you just feel very flat and very like depressed, and like almost like you cannot even put your bed like clean in the morning. Like, what is the word? Like, you can just make a bed. It can be
Make your
hard.
bed,
Like,
yeah.
it can be that like you are just very flat, and then you go into that high functional anxiety state that you are hyper, and you can go between in those stages when your nervous system is rewiring. But just remember that it's all just temporary, and then when it's done, it's stopped, you're gonna be more in your logic brain. And then when there is a real danger, actually, you have more capacity, you have the more strength to actually function when the real danger is there, because you are not constantly aware or hyper, or your nervous system is not like in that state. So then when you need it, it actually works even better.
Yeah, I kind of feel like when we really, because we're just piecing all this together as we go, right? And I really feel like the moment that we really have this all down, because I know it makes sense to us. I hope it makes sense to others, but there's still a little piece missing that, like, I know it can make a little more sense,
Mm.
And I feel like when we really do completely have it all down, this whole process, we're going to be out of it, and we're not going to care anymore.
Yes,
We're just going to be
that's why
living.
and that's why it's so important to share. This is like our
Yeah.
own, and I always like we say this is our experience. So just always remember
Mm,
that your recovery can be looking different, but I know that those people who have the same kind of recovery than we do, they watch these videos. But of course, then
right.
if you have 2 weeks of withdrawals and no post-acute withdrawal, that can happen too. That is possible.
Yeah.
And then this is not anything to scare you. And I will say, like, there are some people
Yes.
who didn't have this, and then maybe they start to worry, like, if I'm gonna start to post a good withdrawal like after a year. No, this thing happens. It is happens, or it not happens. Like, it's not like that you are not going to have this thing that like, you don't just feel anything, and then next year you're gonna feel like you know if you are starting to go through this journey, especially when you are completely sober and you don't take anything. Then if you start to take something and
Yeah.
you are not going to stay sober, then I don't have any picture how that journey can go.
Yeah. But see, that's interesting, because that's what we were talking about yesterday with maybe it's that person, it's their first time to quit, and they haven't been kindling, right? And
Mhm.
so they're like, I'm fine. And then because they're fine, most of the time I see it when people say they're fine after a certain amount of time, they go back, right? Because they're like,
But some
well,
don't. Some don't.
but some don't and some don't. But like, if they do, then you see that the kindling can happen, and then that's when they fall off the mountain. So that's important to know that, because if you do
Yeah.
keep going back and forth, like, I'm fine, and then like, I miss it, and I just
Yeah.
want it for this, or I'm with a friend and I just want to,
Yeah, it
be
can
socially
happen
accepted.
because of the
Yeah.
kindling. Like, it could be
Yeah.
that you could have quit in and you quit that time. It didn't happen. Your nervous system was still okay. Like, you didn't fall off the mountain. But if you start to kindling, that's why it's not very wise to do, because it's
I just, it's not wise. I just think it's so rare that, like, and this is just my opinion, but somebody gets off of caffeine, they don't go through falling off the mountain. A lot of the times, maybe they are on something, they're drinking, or they are on something. That's important to know too. So like, it's just different. It just depends, but it can, like, if it doesn't happen, that's great, but we're supporting the people, like, when it does happen. That's what's so
yeah,
huge. and,
yeah,
and the fact that this, we were dependent on caffeine, our brains were dependent, and that's what I want to talk about. And our time is running down now, but
yeah,
maybe we can talk about that
yeah.
again. Well, we will talk
We
about
have
that
eight
again, but
minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But for me to look at somebody that was because I don't believe I was dependent on alcohol, even though I was consuming it a lot. I believe I was dependent on caffeine. My
Mhm.
brain was, my
Yes.
nervous system was, my body was. But at the same time, I didn't, just because I wasn't dependent on alcohol doesn't mean that I'm going to tell somebody that did have this with alcohol, like, no, that can't happen to you. You know, it's like, it's just so different for people. But no mind altering substances, just because it can or can't, no mind altering substance is good for the body. But if people are on it and they want to do it, then that's their prerogative. You know, we can't say that, oh, you shouldn't, like, even
No.
though we believe that people don't need it, people like to do it for whatever reason. And if
Mhm.
they function with it and they're liking it and they're living their life, I mean, that is great. Like, I know we talk about that a lot, and I know that that's an important thing because it's true. It's like, when we first fall off the mountain, we really want to save the world. Like, don't do it. Okay, yeah, quit, quit. We want to tell everybody to quit. But at the same time, we start to recover more, and we start to see that, like, okay, we needed it. It has happened to us. Like, this is our
Yeah.
thing, and we're putting the information out there for people that want it, need it, and the people that don't want it or need it, then they don't need you. Then it's fine. If it, like,
Yeah.
it's so cool that we can put this out there. And we said it in a video before that, like, us telling our story about caffeine is only good. Like, there's no bad in saying that we quit or telling other people, or I mean, the only bad is if they do fall off the mountain, but that's not bad. That is part of the process to get, you
Yeah.
know, to optimal. But nothing in this, because there's so many videos on YouTube that, like, you know, especially like, well, let's say carnivore, for example, like, people say that that's the way to do it now. Like, carnivore is the way to do it. Is it? For some people, it might work for a little bit, but I honestly don't think that you have to do something like that. That can be dangerous. Saying to somebody to quit a substance, especially if they do it the proper way, that I will never, ever take my word back on that. Like, people should not be on mind altering substance. I think people should be off of them, right? I'm never going to say, oh, yeah, I think people should just do it,
Yeah.
even if they're doing it for their own opinion or I mean, their own reasons. But something like carnivore, that to me, especially when people say, oh, it helps with digestion, it helps with the anxiety, that's not the answer, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe it can if it helps you. I know people who get a lot of help from that. And okay, I'm almost carnivore myself. Like okay, I eat some fruits and veggies, but I run with the meat basically. But
Me
I
too.
think what we mean that in, and I know you mean in this recovery, if something starts to push you something and you just feel that it makes you feel worse or something like that, and somebody is trying to push you, this is the way to go, this is the only way, that can be really dangerous. And that's why you always have to be aware, like, what is the best way for you. Like
Right.
for me, for
Yeah.
example, carnivore in this recovery, it just raised me my cortisol because I was so high anxiety before in this.
Oh, you're
Yeah, my voice is going.
okay. Okay. Now you're back.
Or like the carnivore did work me differently, and now I think it could work. Even I could go full carnivore, but I don't just want. I still want to eat my fruits and berries. But when you have high anxiety, something like that can just put you more in the stress state. So that's why it's not good to push anyone. The push, like some people, when I started the journey, they say that I should just start to run more. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that would have been doing so much more stress to me. But there are a lot
Exactly.
of people who play doctors who haven't quit caffeine, or they didn't experience what we did experience, or they didn't know about this total burnout. So just be
Yeah.
aware of all these advisors out there.
Right. And as you're talking, and as I said what I said, even telling somebody to get off caffeine could seem dangerous if they go through all the symptoms, especially if they go through it. Somebody like our friend who didn't, you know, understand, and
Yeah.
it was just too hard for her.
Yes.
And so that is, again, like, that's why telling people to get off of it, you know, this, your channel is so much more than that. It's for the people who have already gone through, have gotten off of it, and giving them support when they're going through the post acute. But at the same time, I guess also what I'm trying to say about carnivore, what I've learned now where I'm at now, and this might change. I don't think, and I'm more meat based, you know, I eat a lot of protein and fat, but at the same time, I see so much now that it was the anxiety, it was the high cortisol and adrenaline. It what, like I said earlier about the way that my digestion wasn't working properly. When your digestion is working properly and the anxiety is no longer in play, then you can eat more freely. But you do want to eat more healthy anyway, like we were talking about yesterday. Like you just naturally want to take better care of yourself. But eating some vegetables and some fruit when your digestion is working and your anxiety is low, you can do it. We are born omnivores, so we can adapt.
We
and then when
do
people
adapt. That's so huge. Like we do adapt.
yeah,
Or not,
right.
we adapt even that high caffeineism state. Think about that. Think about
right,
that, guys.
exactly. So it's just that whole perspective of like carnivore's it, and it's like it's really, to me, it's just about, and I only talk about that because I did it for a year.
Yeah.
So I have some experience with it. And I was too, so already in such a high state of stress that it put me in more of a state of stress.
Mm-hmm.
And my hair was falling out in chunks. Like I have like 2 hairs fall out in the shower now. I mean, chunks and chunks.
Yes.
And that's high cortisol. That is high. That is all that is. It's not like, oh, you're detoxing. It's like, no, that's high cortisol.
No.
Yeah. So it just wasn't good for me. And it wasn't necessary. What was necessary was for me to keep trusting the process of healing from anxiety and giving it the time. Because everybody who's gone through this and been successful all say it's time.
Yes. Yes. And that's why like those things can work better with people who are not in this kind of state, that they have this high anxiety and they are going through this extreme burnout. Then anything can be too stressful. Like we know some people, they have hell of a reaction for supplements. Some people they have hell of a reaction for going to the running. Like, but we have 1 minute now, so we can end this. But these are just a few things to talk about and think about. And
and again, it's our opinion. It's
our opinion.
Please do your
thing, try things and try what works for you best. And so thank you, Mandy, again, and we will see you again, guys.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.